okay, this is a good one. And I don't know if I've talked about this one or not. I liked it. And usually that's my sign of that I answered it on a podcast. Brian Latimer, shout out, said, I just rode a 450 for the first time this past weekend. This will be controversial, but in some way I felt somewhat safer on the 450 than my 250. I feel like I'm screaming my 250 from corner to corner, but the 450 I could roll on the gas and coast the majority of the track. Could you argue that with discipline, a 450 could offer more enjoyment for a vet rider for this reason? Yes, 100%. Probably the question I get asked more often than not, or more frequently than any other question is, hey, AJ, this is my situation. And I'm looking to buy a bike. What bike do you recommend? My answer will change for everybody, whether it's somebody moving up from little bikes to a 125 or 250, trying to choose between those, or maybe somebody that's like 180 to 250 pounds and, 30 or 60 years old, whatever it is. Brian, I think in your position, I'm going to take a guess as how old you are. I don't know if you've ever told me. Don't get mad at me. 42. No, you got to be younger than that. 38. I don't know. Gosh, 40, 36. Not sure. And just looking to do it at the level that you do it, which is like a very calculated BC rider, right? Very calculated. Brian is extremely smart. 450 all day long. There's some personalities that maybe with more time spent around me, I could convince them to ride with more calculation, but let's face it, they're just not a calculated individual. Don't get on the 450 because the crashes can just be amplified to a crazy magnitude. It might feel like you're in control, and then as soon as it starts to get away from you, holy cow, it'll get away from you. Honestly, the Stark does the same thing. It feels like you could put that bad boy in 60 horsepower and it's like, all right, I got my reins on it. I feel pretty in control. It's super smooth power delivery. And then like when it starts to go wrong, the weight of the bike and the power, you're going to realize really quick why people sometimes discourage others from getting on a 450. And usually a racing environment is what will bring out those scenarios. So Brian, for you, absolutely. I think for most people that are trying to debate it, message me. And I'll give you as much help as I can. It really depends. I've had a lot of guys recently that are like 6'3" to 6'5", so a little on the taller side. And with that, maybe 200 to 230 pounds. So kind of right there on the cusp of like, you could argue that is a bit too heavy for a 250. The 250 might feel fine on some tracks. It might feel really good on some tracks. And then on others, you're going to be shifting way too much. You feel like you won't have the power that you need. And you're trying to like wring the thing out to like get it to create the power as opposed to focusing on the technique. And that would be the argument. With 125, the 250, same thing. It's like everybody would just, the cliche of the 125, you've got to ride it. You got to transition to that bike to learn how to carry momentum. There's an argument for that 100%. But a lot of times you have to ride the bike too aggressively. And then you can't focus on the technique and the body position. The body position needs to come first. And the body position always needs to remain the most important. Roll speed, momentum, flow, all of that is very important. But without body position, you can't focus on that. So yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. But great question. Great question. If you guys enjoyed this podcast clip and you want to listen to full episodes, you can do so on Spotify and Apple Music. If you want to send in your own video submission, you can join us in the Moto Academy family inside of the Moto Academy app by just going to themotoacademy.com. That's also where you can sign up for a class. Okay, guys, see you next episode.